You too? Wow. Okay. Amazing. Whoa. Oh, my best friend's from there. I love that. I love that. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about okay, great. I think we're streaming there. Final Delusion. Hi, I'm great. How are you? Okay, so we're talking about the Final Delusion today. All right. And just before we begin, if you have questions, you know the vibe. If you have questions, you're gonna put them in the question box or just wait till the end and I'm gonna give you guys time to answer questions. Ask questions, not answer them. But maybe you're gonna answer them for yourselves. So, how many of you just press one in the chat if you were in the first part of the webinar, which was the law of delusion? Give me a one if you were there, and give me a two if you weren't there. So, okay, amazing. A lot of ones, two. There's some people who weren't there. Missed the crazy, but oh, wow. Okay. And so we have like a mix of ones and twos over here. So I'm going to give you guys a little recap of what we covered in the first part of this. And you can also check it out on YouTube. It's right there in the past live streams kind of thing, right? Okay. So the first part was called the law of delusion, all right? And in that, we talked about two major things. We talked about why are we raising hands? You have questions already, ma'am? I didn't even start yet. My YouTube channel. Can someone just share the link to my YouTube here? Thank you. So the first part was the law of delusion. We talked about two major things, the actuality of time and space, right? We shattered the illusions and we remembered the truth that we always knew. Time is not real, at least not in the sense that we've been conditioned to see it. Time is the 4D and the mind is time, which means our mind is the 4D. Now, this is a lot to take in if you weren't there. If you're just like, what the but like it's okay, it's okay, you can watch the whole thing and I explain it way better, right? And space, on the other hand, that's perception. Space is perception, and from that lens you saw that reality isn't actually real or set in stone as you might have been conditioned to believe. It's reflective, it bends to your assumptions. Now today it's not just another webinar. Today I want you to really like close your eyes, take a deep fat breath with me right now, and exhale. This is the moment where reality ceases to be out there and becomes something that you realize that you are. The law of delusion showed you that your assumptions create reality. And tonight, we we annihilate the last illusion, that you are using a technique, a method, a law. You aren't using the quantum code. You aren't using strategies to quantum leap. You are the quantum code. You aren't moving through life. Life is moving through you. This is where it gets juicy. Because what I didn't tell you before is that even our assumptions are an illusion. Because you are not just some passive bystander or a casual participant in the matrix. You are the source code itself. That is that blew my mind when I recognized this. Um, okay, my previous webinar is on my YouTube. Okay. All right. So now you are not manifesting things, or you're not even thinking them into existence. You know how they say that, oh, like, you think, and anything you can think, you can create, blah, blah. But I think it's way deeper than that. I think that you are we're not thinking things into existence, we're actually knowing them into existence. This is the biggest difference, the one between thinking and knowing does not need an extension. Knowing does not need an outsourcing. It does not need thoughts to carry it or external projections to make it true. Knowing is the realm of the unseen. It is something you can only experience. Knowing just is, kind of like When you fall in love, when you're in love, there's no external to it. It's an inner knowing you have. You just know that you're in love. I mean, you can use words to describe the feeling or explain how or why you feel that way. You can have thoughts about it, but whether or not you do that, your inner knowing is yours alone. And that's something that you can only experience. And that's exactly what it means to know that you are the source code itself. That's exactly what it means to go from processes and thinking about things to just having an innate knowing that ultimately reflects back through the external projection of the screen. Because, hey, what if you were never actually manifesting? What if reality was never something you were trying to change? And what if you were the shift itself? The reason this is so huge is because when I first got into manifestation and all of this stuff, and even a lot of questions that I get, right? A lot of comments that I get, emails that I get, they're all about people and myself. What I used to do was I used to approach this as, oh, I need to learn something about doing this. I need to learn what kind of process I can apply to manifest XYZ in my life. I need to learn some step by step process. And there's so many out there. Like, there's so many different ways that people go, like, oh, like, just do the 369 method, just write a scripting letter and it's going to come true. But you got to understand that, though. I'm not saying I'm not writing those off, but I am saying is that they're just permission slips. They're ways that you make it make sense to your mind. We all have the two parts to us, right? The spiritual self, the soul, right? The being, and the physical self, the human body, the one that operates in the 3D, the hands you can see, our filters of perception. And so those permission slips simply serve the lower self, the 3D self. And in actuality, in order to know something, there is no thing you need to do. It's just a shift in the consciousness. It's just an inner awakening. And it does not come from anything you do outside. It is an inner knowing. Excuse me. Excuse me. Just like the knowing of love. And that knowing, that is where you go from trying to control everything, trying different, external methods and everything. That's when you completely write every single thing off. Because for centuries, spiritual teachings, science, religion, they've all pointed to the same truth. But humanity wasn't ready to see it. And a lot of people, even today, are not ready to see it, right? So people needed techniques, they needed external explanations, they needed something to use to feel in control. Everything really comes back to control, right? People and their the dying need to feel like they're in control of their lives. And so I was one of those people who started to use manifestation to feel more in control of my life. And then I would get frustrated. Oh my God, I've been trying to manifest this thing for so long and it's still not here. Why is it still not here? Why is it that I'm manifesting this thing and I'm manifesting a refund from some place, or I'm manifesting some job, or I'm manifesting X, Y, Z, whatever, and it's still not here? And there's this frustration because you are still thinking that there's something you like, it's about you. You're still making it about you and your power to create something. But there's a very interesting, like, it's a very interestingly slippery slope, is that when you go from, you go like, okay, well, I don't operate the same way that the rest of the 3D does. I don't operate through logic. I don't operate through XYZ. And then suddenly you get caught up in another hamster wheel itself, which is that, oh, I have to create something from freaking scratch. But realizing the final delusion isn't that you can shift reality, babe. The final delusion is that you are the shift. You are the source code. You are the one that is collapsing timelines. You're the one that's creating worlds, not even creating, not in the sense of bringing something from non existence to existence, but rather creating in terms of being able to perceive it and dictating how reality unfolds, not by effort or force or by trying to make something happen, but just by knowing, just by being. The shift isn't something you do, it is who you already are. But when we look around and when we grow up in societies and places that tell us all about the hustle culture, all about how you need to do this thing, you need to do that thing, we forget this, right? So today is about, it's where we stop trying to use the law and we realize that we are the law. There's no separation. And as we awaken to this truth, remember, your ego mind will try to reject it. It will try to control your perceptions. It will actually fight for your limitations because most of the world is so deep asleep in the matrix, it almost feels comical to wake up and confront the truth. People will be like, are you insane? Like, you actually think that? You actually believe that? Because everyone and their mom is conditioned to this. And just because that's the case does not mean you give up and you stay asleep. Doing that just makes you another cog in the machine, another sheep in the flock. But if you were guided to be here today, if you were guided to be listening to this, it truly means something. It means that you've already broken out of the matrix. You're already out. But here's the thing, nobody. Nobody, not me, not anyone else, not even a coach you hire can walk the door for you. Only you can walk through the door. Everything and everyone else can simply point to the truth. And if you actually come to think of it, hasn't it always been? Hasn't everything always been pointing to the truth? Don't weird synchronicities happen all the time? Which literally show you that you're knowing just by knowing something, you can experience it in the physical world. I'll tell you a crazy story. So, I shared with you guys that I was moving and I moved finally. So while I was packing, right, to from my old house, so I had a debit card about like say 2 years ago. Okay. 2 years ago, I lost my debit card and I lost it in a very funny way. I was at the airport McDonald's and, with another team member of mine, and there was my little brother. One of them paid through my card and they came back, and I don't know, some one thing led to another. And then when I got back, I realized my card wasn't with me. I emptied my entire bag. I made everyone check their pockets, everything. It was nowhere, right? And I was like, that's so weird. Like, how could just my card just disappear, right? So I went back to McDonald's and they're like, no, like, there was no card. And we checked the security footage. It wasn't there, right? And I was like, it's not possible. And I've always been a person who's carried like huge tote bags, right? So it's not like it could have gotten lost in one of the pockets. Like I actually emptied it out properly, like 6, 7 times. I was like, no, my card has to be here. And it wasn't there. And then what happened was I ordered a new card. I go to the bank and they're like, oh, like, they check my name and everything. They're like, yeah, 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 we know you ordered a card, but we're actually reconstructing the branch and stuff and everything's here and there. We'll call you. A long time passed by, didn't get my card. I was like, okay, screw it. I ordered another card. Something went wrong with that as well. Still, a year went by. Actually, a year and a half went by, no card. And then Feb this year, I was like, okay, well, I need a card because I would always like be piggybacking off of other people's cards. And I was like, I need to get a new card, man. So then I called the bank again. I ordered a new card again. And they were like, okay, it's going to be ready in like 2 weeks for you to pick it. I was like, cool. So, a couple of weeks later, I call them and they're like, yeah, your card's at the branch. You can go collect it. I was like, okay, cool. And all this time, by the way, like I was in the frequency of what? Lack, right? That, oh my God, I need a card, I need a card, I need a card. And this whole time this was happening. And then so finally I go to the bank literally an hour later. And the guy's like, yeah, okay, we have that on record, but we don't have your card. I was like, what do you mean you don't have my card? And they're like, yeah, like, they checked the entire branch for it's not, it doesn't happen. Like, it's so weird, right? It doesn't happen to any, like, it's never happened to anyone I know. And they just checked the entire branch and they're like, I'm sorry, but like, we have like hundreds and hundreds of cards, but yours just isn't there. And I was like, but I called you guys an hour ago. And they're like, we're sorry, like, we'll call you, I guess. I was like, okay, fine. And in that moment, I said, you know what, screw it. I will actually just open a new account with another bank. All right. Now I set this intention and I was like, okay, whatever. All this time, by the way, I was still using my old card online. So I would just like, activate it to pay for something and then I would deactivate it. So it was still like, if I had the physical card, it would work. Anyways, so what happened was like a couple of days ago, when I was packing my bags, I was going through each bag at a time, right? So I would open the bag and I would empty it out and I'd be like, okay, is there something of use here? If not, blah, blah. So I empty out one of my bags and literally I just like, I didn't even throw it all on the floor. I just like took the stuff out in my hands and there it was, my card, my freaking card. The moment I went from needing that card to going like, okay, screw it, whatever, it appeared in my reality. And I was like, what on earth? Like, how is this possible? Right? And I called my best friend because another thing happened right before that. I'm gonna cut this short, but I called my best friend. I was like, "Girl, you're not gonna believe this." I tell her everything, and then I go like, what's gonna be so like funny is if I like if this is how fast it gets to be. What if I open my next bag, I find like keys to like a new car or something. I open the next bag and I find like not obviously not keys to a new car. I think my brain has rules against that, my mind. But I found these random pair of keys I had never, ever, ever seen in my life before. And I was like, what on earth? I'll tell you one more story and then we're going to come back to this. And I'll tell you why I'm telling you these stories, not just to freak you out. But this was back in 2023. I was traveling and I actually forgot my AirPods at the hotel. Okay. So and I was not upset about the AirPods because I was like, I can get my AirPods back. But I had this keychain attached to it, like a very tiny little 2 millimeter wrench that was attached to it. That was very like it meant a lot to me. And so I was really upset and I was like, oh my God, I lost my keychain, blah, blah. And I didn't realize I forgot my AirPods at the hotel until after I was in the plane. And anyway, so a long story short, I get back home and I checked everywhere, like my suitcase, every single place you could check, I checked it, okay? And then finally I became okay with the fact that, you know what, it's okay, whatever, it's just a keychain. And then 3 days later, I opened my cupboard, and that just the keychain itself was placed on top of my clothes. Just the keychain, not my AirPods, just that keychain appeared. And I was like, what the heck? And the reason I share this with you is because when we talk like we think that it's just about manifesting specific things or blah blah, but this is like your entire life. This is about how everything in your reality fundamentally works, that it is so fluid, and that synchronicities happen like this when you let go of control, when you stop trying to figure things out, when you just go like, okay, whatever, when you're okay whatevering through life, when you live in the knowing that it's none of this outside is actually real, it is so fluid, it is so bendable, things will literally appear out of thin air when you move in that state of flow. Okay. Reality is not objective, it is an interface. It is a veil, it is a projection, it's a reflection of what you assume to be true. And every tradition, every philosophy, every scientific discovery, and among all of these things, the ultimate truth has always remained the same. So we're going to break this down, okay? And I'm going to take the religious lens first, all right? So think about this. Now, across multiple spiritual texts, God is described as reflecting back to you exactly what you expect of him. The Bible says, according to your faith, let it be done to you. The Quran says, I am as my servant thinks of me. The Gita says, man is made by his belief. As he believes, so he is. The Tao Te Ching, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation, says, when you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Different umbrellas, same truth. Because think about it, if reality is mirroring back, funny little chair. If reality is mirroring back your belief about God, then what does that mean? It literally means life is never happening to you. It's always happening from you, through you. Not even for you, but through you. There is no outside if you're not there. And if you come to think of the science of it, the observer effect in quantum physics, right? I'm sure, press a one in the chat if you've heard about the observer effect. A one in the chat. Okay, awesome. You guys know about it, right? Now the observer effect, and are you with me? Like, does this make sense so far? Okay, two in the chat if it makes sense. And you're like, yeah, I get that. You know what? Okay, amazing. Awesome. You guys are getting it, right? Now, the observer effect proves that consciousness itself changes the outcome of experiments, right? Particles exist in infinite possibilities until they're observed. Now, I want you to think about the double slit experiment, right? They had hypothesized that when those electrons that were shooting through the double slit appear in the screen, they're going to be in the form of two straight lines. So when the particles were not observed, they were scattered throughout the screen. But when they were observed, it's not just about the act of observation itself. It's about what, if you go back to it, there was the assumption of the hypothesis that was attached to the consciousness that was observing it. So when they did observe it, when consciousness looked at it through the lens of the assumption, that is the hypothesis, the result mirrored back the actualization of that assumption, of that knowing that this is how it should be. This is what should happen. The act of consciousness, looking at those electrons, observing them with the presumption of what they're meant to do, collapse the outcome into a new reality. Reality is not set until you interact with it, which means that your knowing of how reality is creates the world that you see. It affects which reality you interact with. And it all comes back to the difference between thinking and knowing. The fact of the matter is that when we're growing up, we accepted so many laws of the world to be true. And we have years and years of evidence to back our claims, not just through our own lives, but the lives of all those around us. And social media, the news, every single thing around us is simply piggybacks on that conditioning and deepens it. So we stay asleep, we stay stuck on that knowing or thinking that, oh yeah, like, this is how the world is, this is how life goes, this is what's supposed to happen or whatever. And it becomes our knowing of reality, and that knowing is what is projected on the screen outside. The screen outside is a mirror for what you know inside. But knowing is not set in stone. Knowing is fluid, it's changeable. And when you recognize that, that's when it gets so juicy. That's when it gets so fun. That's where just by shifting your knowing, you get to experience a whole new life, a whole new world, a whole new way that things work for you that nobody else can understand. Nobody can, everyone's like, what the heck? Like, how are you doing this? How is this happening for you? Like, make it make sense. And you're just like, there is no logical explanation to this. There can't be, because knowing cannot be explained. And today is about waking up from that matrix of knowing limitation, the matrix of our marriage to limiting knowings, because it is not the world we need to set ourselves free from. It's not this that you need to free yourself from. People go like, oh, I'm in this place that I feel stuck in, and if I just move to a different country, if I go to a different place, I will feel free. I will feel free when this happens, when that happens. But freedom is not from the world. Freedom is from our knowing of limitation. It is not limiting beliefs that we need to rewire, but rather the source code itself that we need to rewrite. The programming of our world. And this programming is unique to each one of us because we're all given the gift of free will. Free will, when collided with consciousness, makes you the programmer of your planet. Free will, when collided with consciousness, makes you the programmer of your planet. The first thing that you need to do, the first thing you need to, please ignore the cartoon over there. But the first thing that you need to do, you need to wake up to, you need to recognize is literally that you need to separate yourself, separate you from the entire world around you. Separate your knowing from the knowing of everyone else. Separate your truth from everyone else's. We, yes, we are human beings and we're social beings. Yes, to all of that. And while our social interactions are so, like, they're so healthy for us, the thing is that when you're on a spiritual path, when you're on a spiritual journey, and the people around you, they don't know about it, they're so deep into the matrix, they will not be able to understand you. And just by being around them, you're going to fall asleep again. Just by being around them, you will buy into their reality. So if you're on one hand constantly listening to people speak of limitation, 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 and then on in your own world, you're trying, like, you're putting in the work to break free from the inner limitation, it's going to feel harder. It's going to feel harder, which is why this journey is yours and yours alone, which is why it's so important to be around people who are on that path with you, who are like, you know what? Yeah, like this is I want to live, because it's so much more, like, screw everything else. But think about how it's so much more fun this way. How it's so much more fun when you recognize that it's actually not set in stone. Nothing is. You can literally, through knowing, objects can appear out of thin air. Synchronicities can happen like this, and you won't know how or why or whatever. It just will. It just will. And everything ultimately ties back to the spiritual truth. Every assumption that you have is a, and this is one of my favorite parts, okay? Because, like, this shift, like, it blew my mind with understanding this, and realizing, holy shit, what every assumption you have is a frequency of God that you are tuning into. Every knowing is its own reality. When you know anything, okay, you energetically lock into that version of reality. You don't choose what happens in your life. People think that's what manifestation is about, right? Choosing the little details, birthing something out of nothing into existence. But creation is already finished, so you're not doing any of that. You're not pulling objects out of your ass. you're you're choosing which version of reality you experience every moment. Each moment you make a decision, you arrive at a different timeline. Every single moment you choose. The thing is that when you keep choosing the same decision, the same limitation, the same knowing over and over again, you think nothing's changing. But whether your assumption or your knowing shifts every moment or not, it's still a new start, which is why we say that it doesn't matter what's happened up until this point. It doesn't matter. Nothing that has ever happened up until this moment in your life actually blocks you from experiencing a different reality unless you decide that it's blocking you. And this almost seems like a crazy big thing, a big responsibility. But it's true. Every single moment you choose. Every single moment when you choose, you shift the outcome. And once you know it, once you choose it, the 3D must mirror it back. The world doesn't react to you, it reacts to who you think you are, who you know you are, what you know reality is. But remember, I said a moment ago, different frequencies of God, right? So we're going to take this even further. This understanding of God was actually inspired to me just quite recently, and I was like, what the actual f, and it made sense, it felt right, but every ancient tradition describes the divine as having multiple names, attributes, or aspects, but these aren't just descriptions or personality traits. Okay, they are literal energetic states that shape reality. In Islam, God has, well, like there's 99 names that are widely recognized, although there's a lot of more. But 99 names is the general concept that God has 99 names. Each represents a different way he interacts with reality. In Hinduism, there's, different devas, like divine aspects embody different forces of nature. And every other, like there's different multiple emanations of source energy, but even in science there's the multiverse theory that suggests infinite parallel realities already exist. And here's where it gets insane is that each of these divine names aspects is a pre-existing timeline of itself, a fully formed, self-contained version of reality, a frequency that you're either tuning into or ignoring. There was this Sufi, very well known, like widely known, scholar, Ibn Arabi. He said this thing. He said he had this theory that each individual actually interacts with a different face of God. Okay, and that interaction is dependent on what he thinks of God as, right? So think about it this way, like when you step into ease and flow, you are experiencing the frequency of divine abundance. When you struggle and feel lack, you're experiencing the frequency of restriction. When things move at the speed of light, you've locked into the frequency of acceleration. When nothing happens, you're holding on to the frequency of resistance. You are not manifesting, you're simply choosing which reality you step into by choosing which frequency of the divine you will experience. I mean, here's what like God says, I am how my servant thinks of me, right? Now, if you actually think about it, who's the doer behind everything? The 3D is a veil for God's command. We've all been told that not even a leaf moves without his will. We've also been given free will at the same time. So the pressing question becomes, what is free will? If everything is through God? People often think that fate and destiny are, set in stone kind of things. But actually, if God is how we think of him, then our perception, our knowing of how things are, is the key to rewriting the program of life. Because then free will is truly about who we assume God to be. Our assumption about God reflects back to us what we see in the mirror of the 3D. This is what it means when I say you are the code, because your free will is your will to choose which frequency of the divine you experience, which timeline you live in. The laws of the 3D are not solid, they're fluid, and you choose the way it works. But most don't realize this because we've been conditioned to choose limitations and constriction. We've been taught to plan through life, have strategies, have a plan B, have step-by-step processes of how you're going to do things. And that is why there's so much fear in people. That is why they're so afraid. Oh my God, like if I don't do this, will this work out? Will I get into that college? Will this happen? Will that happen? Do I need to affirm day in and day out? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Just chill. You just need to change how you know God. You just need to change the face of God you're knowing every single day. And that's it. If you know, like knowing needs no plan, knowing needs no how, knowing just is. And if you know the doer of it all, what good does planning from your human limited mind do? To live with God means to abandon logic, divorce figuring it out, and be ever so comfortable with the unknown. And this is where even when people it- and I want you to become aware of this, right? This is where even when people are manifesting things, they get caught up in trying to figure the how. Like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna visualize it, but like how, when is it coming? How will it happen? Your mind tries to connect the dots for you. Your mind tries to make it make sense because the mind needs control. The mind needs to know. The mind needs to know the how to feel safe. But this whole journey is less about the things you're, bringing into your life, honestly, and more about learning to trust not knowing the how, learning to trust being totally okay with having absolutely no freaking idea, being totally okay with going like, okay, well, I don't know what tomorrow's bringing, and that's a great thing. The reason people feel shit scared that like they're gonna shit their pants or some shit is because they need to know what tomorrow's bringing. But how can tomorrow bring miracles if you're trying to predict how it happens, if you're trying to predict what it brings? If you're trying to predict it, you're constricting yourself. But if your knowing is that life is always so great to me, then you don't have to know why it's great to you. You can just live in that knowing and it will be great to you. Does that make sense? Press a one in the chat if it makes sense. Yeah, yes, they do. Yes, they do. I'm just reading through your. Okay, amazing. Do you have any questions so far? Oh, hi, Hassan. So good to see you, man. Do you guys have any questions so far? You can let me know. How do you too, man? Okay, I'm guessing there is no questions. I'm guessing there are no questions. Okay, so how to stop interacting with one reality and shift to a new one without feeling of resistance? Ooh, okay. That is such a fun question because that's literally what the activation we're about to do is about. Um, okay, uh, let's see. I've been depressed, associated from my body and the world in general for such a long time. For the life of me, I cannot see myself or visualize being healthier, happier, lighter, normal. Therapy hasn't helped. I've manifested money jobs, but the joy of living passionate life, that feeling of purpose I once had, as soon as I open my eyes in the morning, is eluding me. What should I do? What exactly would you do? Ooh, how to be in that zone? Okay, wow, that is such a great question. Firstly, thank you for asking that. Okay, so, oh damn, why do I always feel enthusiastic? Okay, let's all right, let me take one question at a time, please. All right, so you said you've been feeling depressed, dissociated, and you can't see yourself feeling happier and all of that. What if instead of trying to see yourself healthier, happier, like see a version of you that is feeling all that, you just try to imagine what does health itself feel like? It doesn't have to be for you. What does joy itself feel like? It doesn't have to be in relation to you because what I am sensing, and I could be wrong, but when you're visualizing something and you're associating it with yourself, your mind right now currently is like, no, screw you, that's not how it is. And then it's like, that's why when you're trying to visualize it, your mind is pulling back or pushing back, or there's this resistance in between that says that like I don't want to think like that because that's not how it is right now, and it feels exhaustive because you think that you're trying to you have to control how life feels like, you have to control what purpose feels like, you have to control how it is for you, when in actuality it's, what if you just made it not about you at all, in the sense that, okay, sorry, I got a text, it was wait, am I stuck? Hello, was I stuck? Was I stuck? Okay, apologies. Okay, so, all right, guys, I know. Okay, I'm back. All right. So, um, what I would suggest for you is whatever you think that life should look like, whatever you think joy should look like, whatever you think feeling happier, lighter, normal, whatever that is should look like. Currently, you're thinking about it from the state of consciousness that does not have it. So if I were you, I would abandon visualizing completely. I would abandon trying to see a different version of me or anything at all. And I would just say, okay, well, screw the, because that feels like a lot of pressure when you don't feel like that right now. That feels like there's this weight of responsibility on you, right? So I would say, screw all that. What is, when I wake up in the morning, what's just one thing that I can feel good about? Just one moment. What's one thing that I can feel good about? Not in some distant future, just today. Let's say so I'll give you an example. Um, I love good fragrances, right? And I love scented candles. So this just 2 days ago, I wasn't feeling pretty, fly like a G6. I was like, okay, girl, screw all that. What is one thing I can feel good about? A good candle that smells good. That's going to make me feel good. Okay, that's it. What is one thing I can feel good about, and just take it one moment at a time? You don't have to figure out anything. You just have to be like, okay, well, what's another thing that's going to make me feel good? Is it a cup of coffee? Screw purpose. Screw feeling passion in life. Screw all, because you cannot get like access that state of consciousness while you're in the state of consciousness that feels depressed and heavy. So in order to get here, you just take it one shift in consciousness at a time. Does that make sense to you? The person who asked the question. Let me know if that makes sense, okay? Um, how to be in that zone. What zone, girl? Does this apply to how we observe current events? It applies to how we observe literally everything. Why do I always feel enthusiastic while imagining, but then reality starts sucking again? Because you're seeing a separation between closed eye imagination and this. Your mind is creating the illusion of separation when there is no separation. You have to go from thinking that you're imagining to going like, no, I'm just looking at life as it is. I want to stop worrying about the world, but I don't want to look like I don't care. That's interesting. What do you mean when you say you want to stop worrying about the world? How to be in the zone of happiness always, when even when reality is testing us. It's not about being in the zone of happiness, actually. It's actually not at all. It's about the zone being in the zone of knowing that everything is always working out for you, knowing that you're at home with yourself, there's nowhere to go, everything's always working out for you, knowing the feeling of gratitude, the feeling of abundance. And when you feel not great, you honor that. When things So, for example, the past few days were pretty tough for me because I was moving from a house I've lived in for almost a decade. And there was so much feeling of overwhelm. There was so much feeling of grief. There was so much. And I wasn't feeling like getting enough sleep and all of that. And I would allow myself to cry. I said, girl, it's okay. You're grieving something. When life tests you, it is not testing you, it is integrating you. It is bringing up this energy for you to feel through it so you can, raise your state of consciousness. So I treated it as such. I said, okay, well, that's the feeling I'm having and I will honor it. Why wouldn't I? That does not change from who I am in the court. That doesn't, like, for example, right? Treat knowing as this. How you know that the sun will come up tomorrow, whether you feel good, bad, terrible, excited, whatever you feel today, will the sun still come up tomorrow? Yes, you know it. Your knowing does not change just because your emotions do. You can honor the emotions and have a state of being, state of knowing that doesn't shift. Does that make sense? My deepest desire is getting married hold up, to a, well, I could have done that all this time. That's crazy. My deepest desire is getting married to a God-fearing, generous man who's all in with me and someone I can create a beautiful family with. 3 years after a divorce, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm still deeply hurt. Some friendships just fall apart for no reason. I guess I have to stand firm and these things happen for my highest good, but still so hard to understand what's going on. Farah, I got a divorce 4 years ago too, and I relate with you because I too have lost a lot of friends out of nowhere. I used to think that was a bad thing, and then I realized that God was actually just making space in my life. And our suffering comes when we try to understand what's going on. When knowing is so strong that you just know that things are always working for you, that everything, your highest good is already here. The 3D is catching up to you. When that knowing is so strong, you don't need to understand why anything happened. You just go like, okay, well, if it happened, it's the best thing that could happen for me. When you give up on trying to understand and you just allow your pain or whatever you feel to pass through you, things shift. And you said you're still deeply hurt, right? Your desire is a God fearing, generous man who's all in with you. And on the other hand, your current state of consciousness is that I'm still deeply hurt, that I can't make sense of anything. Your state of consciousness is the opposite of what your desire is. If you were the frequency of that desire, you would live in the knowing that this desire isn't a desire, it's a knowing, and that it is already written for me. And so, how can I just live in the knowing that this is what God wrote for me? This is on its way to me. Will you be doubting? Will you be trying to understand things? Will you be like wondering, like, oh, why did this happen? Why did that happen? You're going to be like, holy crap, no. Like, it doesn't matter what the 3D currently looks like. I know what the vibe is. I know what's going on for me, right? Okay. So in other words, choose to feel good in the moment and not worry about the future. Yeah, yeah, literally. You have to. Oh my God. If I could give you one, it was exactly that. Like you don't have to worry about the future. Like there is no future. There is no time. Okay. Um, you have a scented candle. That is so cute. How to manifest a soulmate. Most of the times, our family friend says negative things about marriage and men all the time. How to ignore their thoughts because I try to be positive, but somehow I felt negative also due to this 3D scenario. Recognize that they have no power over you. They have only the power that which you allow them to have, and then it's okay that you've allowed them unconsciously I mean unconsciously to have this power that they make you feel negative. But liberation, inner freedom from limitation, from negativity comes from inside, not the outside. You can have that movie play and know that that's not mine. That's not my movie. That's not my reality. And it's literally through your knowing of God. People will say all sorts of things, but you don't have to subscribe to their story of what life is, because your story has to come through God. When you know who the doer is behind everything, when you know that he controls it all, then why would you settle for something that someone else tells you? People can have their negative experiences, and that's okay, because that's the reality they subscribe to. That's the knowing they subscribe to. So you don't have to try to be positive. You just have to know that your reality works differently than theirs, because you know God differently than they do. You are in a different frequency of God than they are, right? Okay, well, that's a lot of questions. Okay. Okay, admissions into a med school. The people around me keep asking, I believe I have it, but I also get nervous when I haven't seen it in the 3D. Yeah, I know 3D is not real. Babe, listen to me. Okay, girl, listen to me when I tell you this. You are already in it. You need to stop asking questions. You need to get out of question mode. You need to literally go like, okay, you know what? Because if you already knew it, you wouldn't be asking the question. If you already knew it, you wouldn't have a question to ask right now. And you know we've had this conversation, and I will say the same thing to you. You're already in. You've already arrived. You are in it. You are home in it. You're like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. No more questions. No more checking. No more wondering. You're home. Okay. Okay, so the rest of the questions, I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question yet, but I want to continue. Um, I get overwhelmed with your explanations. Sorry. Sorry that my explanation overwhelms you. It's only the weight of the truth. If you wanted to, girl, hold it, please. Okay, we're gonna come back to the webinar itself. Okay, so. I'm sorry if I haven't gotten to your question yet. You can email it to me again, or if we have time at the end, I'll take more questions. Okay, but this is where everything I've talked about. Okay, now it's the part is about putting it into integration, right? Applying it to your life, and this application is a process. Illusion of a process, but here's how we do it. Now we're going to do an activation. You guys know how it goes, but I'm going to explain what we're doing in a moment. Okay, now what we'll be doing is, when you want to change from a state of consciousness that you've practiced living in, being in for an X amount of time, to a new state of consciousness, right? First, you go from this state of consciousness, this knowing of reality, to a knowing of just being, of just awareness, to a knowing of no labels, no attachments, nothing at all, to just pure consciousness. And then, when everything else is stripped off of you, when there is no identity, when there is no past knowing, when there is no limitation, when there is nothing, that's when you step into the consciousness that you want to experience. That's when you step into the frequency of God that you want to experience. That's when you step into the 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 new way life works for you. Because no matter what happened even 2 minutes ago, if every moment you get to choose a new, then every moment you can simply shift your awareness and dissolve into the frequency that you know that you are now experiencing. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yes, amazing. Okay. Because consciousness is the only reality. So to dissolve a problem, by the way, one thing I'm gonna tell you guys before we do this activation, right? A lot of people ask this question, like, if this is my current problem, how do I get to the solution, right? If this is my current frequency, current whatever 3D, how do I get to this? To dissolve any problem, you simply, and then this is gonna sound crazy, but you ignore it. Like, you don't think about it. You literally take all your attention away from it, and you bring it to what you want it to be. You get lost in your wish fulfilled. When you lose yourself in the feeling of being the wish fulfilled, that quality will embody itself into your world. That solution will birth itself into, because if you have, for example, money problems, right? And you're like, oh my God, like I have bills to pay, I have this, I have that. You're so focused on the problem. You keep reiterating, like my card story. I was so focused on not having that card. At the moment like I let go of it and I just focused on like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna get a new card. Like I have a card, screw it. The solution came to, the card appeared itself in my reality out of thin air. Like that is absolutely insane, only because we think that that's not normal, but that is the way reality is supposed to work. So the every time you keep affirming the problem, you push away the solution. So the way back is to literally go like, okay, well, whatever, to this state of consciousness, and I want to experience this. So I'm going to get lost in this until it is the only thing that I know in my DNA. And it will mirror back to you from the external world. So if you have headphones, you can plug them in right now. I'm going to give you 2 minutes first to simply write down or think about or talk out loud or put it in the chat. What is the new frequency that you're now choosing? Because we're going to go into an activation, the activation of collapsing the final delusion. So I want you to be clear on what is the frequency you are going into this experience to now shift into, knowing that by the time this activation ends, that is the only frequency you will be in. And that past one will disintegrate. It will just not be accessible to you anymore. Okay. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'm going to play some music for you guys and you're going to write this. Okay. Um, let's see. Just 2 minutes, put it in the chat or with yourself. Frick yes. I'll be right back. Those are some incredible frequencies. I love it. Someone said infinite abundance, the walking money portal, baby. Frick yes. Wildly successful, six-figure premium ghostwriter. Infinite abundance, wealth, success, prosperity, sacred relationship with my soulmate, true love. I love that. To manifest everything and anything my heart desires at any given moment of life. Amazing. That is beautiful. Stupid, unlimited abundance in all areas of life. frequency of pure love. Best, this is amazing. Okay. Now, the only thing you need to know as we're going into this frequency is remember this. This is not about you in the physical sense. This is about tapping into that frequency of consciousness, that frequency of God, where that frequency of God, when you connect to it, He will make all of the impossible happen for you. And you will not need to know a thing about how it happens. You will not need to know a thing about the plan, about what tomorrow brings. You get to simply live in the love for the unknown, the love for the way miracles happen for you overnight, because anything miraculous doesn't come from the mind. It comes from unexpected outcomes, unexpected source, unexpected synchronicities. Those cannot be predicted. So this moment is simply about tapping into the frequency. And when you tap into that frequency, when you become one with it, when you realize that it is that easy, it always was, it always will be, because it has been the law of your life up until this moment. Whatever knowing you were married to is what you saw. The knowing of limitation is what you saw. And so now you get to choose the knowing that you would love to have now, that you would love to live through. And knowing does not shift, it does not falter, it's not shaky. It is set in stone. It's the knowing that at night the moon comes out, in the morning the sun comes up. It is knowing, it is absolute truth. Because this is not about self-consciousness, it is about God consciousness. So there's no pressure on the self when you're just moving with the doer of it all. The light that draws peace, love, and unity to the world, I am. Heck yes, that is beautiful. Okay? So, black cat energy? Me? Black cat? I'm a white cat. Okay. All right, let's do this. All right, so I want you all to now close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Another deep breath in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Another deep breath in. Hold for 3 seconds. And exhale slowly. We are about to collapse the final illusion. We are about to step into the source code of reality itself. And right now, I want you to release every thought of trying, every thought of figuring things out, every thought of when will it happen. Let it all dissolve right now. Because this moment, this exact moment is the shift. I want you to feel yourself arriving into the present moment. Just aware of your breath, aware of my voice, aware of the tingling sensation throughout your body, aware that you are aware. This is not something you are about to do. This is something that you are becoming. Take another deep breath in, hold it, and exhale through the mouth. Letting every moment up until this point go. Now, feeling the fluidity of your being, the emptiness of this space. Your body relaxing moment by moment. Your heart steady and mind open, expanded, infinite, with your awareness on everything and nothing. We are about to move beyond every limitation you have ever known. Drop your shoulders. Relax your jaw. And feel every tension melt away from your body. And now I want you to imagine nothing. No body, no name, no past, no future. Literally feel everything that you identify with yourself. Feel it all fade away. Feel your body fade away. In a space where you are no one, no time, just inside a void of nothingness. Remember to forget everything you know and feel your mind literally be emptied out of all knowing. Feel it dissolve. Feel yourself floating. In this void, just as pure awareness. Just as awareness suspended in an endless field of possibility. This space is infinite. There are no walls. There are no ceilings. There is no time. And there is no form. Just a vast, limitless ocean of existence. Feel yourself dissolve in this space. In this space, everything exists. A space of limitless possibilities, an ocean of existence. Every possible reality, every possible timeline, every version of you that has been or ever will be. Nothing is far away. Nothing is in the future. Everything is happening right now. And you are the observer. You are the one who chooses which frequency of God you experience. In this space, nothing is given to you. It is only selected by you. Breathe into this. Feel your awareness expanding into the infinite. You are now outside of time. You are beyond every limitation. You are pure, limitless consciousness. Hold this feeling. Now, from this infinite space, I want you to observe, what have you been tuning into? Ask yourself, what is my dominant assumption about life right now? Not what you want to believe, not what you hope to be true, but what your reality has actually been reflecting back to you. Is it abundance? Lack? Is it ease? Is it struggle? Is it certainty? Is it fear? Scan your life. Scan your patterns. What do they reveal? What do your assumptions, what do your knowings say about how you see the divine? If money feels hard, what have you assumed about the nature of abundance? Which frequency of God are you tapped into? Is He withholding things from you? Making it hard, always testing, always making you feel pain, always making you suffer? If love feels distant, what do you know about your worthiness to receive it? Which frequency of God are you tapped into? The frequency of conditional love? The reality where love is so hard to find? If success feels delayed, what have you assumed about time? Does time control you? Is it linear? Your external world has always been showing you the exact reflection of what you have believed to be true about existence itself. And now you are to rewrite that code. I want you to breathe it in. Let this awareness settle in your body. The moment you recognize the program, you transcend it. And right now, we are transcending. Right now, you are standing at a doorway, a portal to your true version of reality, where everything unfolds differently. All you have to do is declare it. It is know it, because the moment you name it, it is yours. Say these words out loud to yourself. And as you do, I want you to feel them restructuring your entire being. I am now stepping into the name of limitless expansion. Feel the energy of growth, acceleration, and boundless possibilities literally surge through you. Knowing that it is all through you. That your knowing is the key to your kingdom. Claim it. I am now stepping into the name of wealth beyond measure. Abundance that feels easy in every area of my life, where it gets to be easy for me, where I am the portal of wealth itself, and feel the energy of overflowing abundance and divine provision literally bathe through every cell in your body. Let it surround you. I am now stepping into the name of time bending acceleration. Feel the energy surround you. Feel the energy of instant manifestations, effortless results, and reality shifting at God's speed. Anchor into the soul. Breathe it in. Feel these names becoming you. Your old assumptions shattering into nothing. It's the moment you declare it, it's the moment you know it. You are it. Now take a big drink of breath. Hold it and exhale. And as you do, feel every cell in your body recalibrating. Feel your nervous system adjusting to this new level of certainty. There is no longer a hope, no longer a desire. This is no longer something you want. Knowing your truth is your baseline. Knowing God is your baseline. Knowing that this is not about knowing your capability to create anything. It is about becoming so aware of the doer, so aware of that frequency of God, that is what the 3D shows you. Because the entire world outside is a veil for God's command. And that is the free will you have to choose which frequency of commands you see. Everything exists. All paths exist. All outcomes exist. All possibilities exist. What you're knowing now is that is your only reality. You are no longer moving toward it. You are moving from it. You are the person who operates from this frequency by default. This is your home. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, anchor this into your body. Feel the cells in your body recalibrate, your DNA rewritten, your subconscious rewired, your reality reformatted. It is done. You are home. You are the code. There is no separation. No doing, just knowing. And now you know. So, slowly, I want you to bring your awareness back into this room. Feel the weight of your body, the energy pulsing through you. And when you're ready, open your eyes to a new timeline, a new reality, a new state of being. Welcome home. This is who you are. And so when in the chat, whenever you're back, are we back? How was that? You are here, you're home. I will send you guys the entire playlist. How about that? So let me just put the playlist in the chat. Let's see, copy link. And wow, that was amazing. Beautiful. You guys are amazing, okay? I love that for you. Now, once you see that you are the code, you stop looking for something outside of you. You stop searching for a method. You stop doubting it will work because you finally realize it was never a question of if. It was always a question of when you would wake up to the fact that you are the shit. I I am so in awe of your comments over here. I love you guys. I love you so much. And I am elated to see that you're feeling so incredible. Now, you cry, that is beautiful if you feel like crying. So you already know that, hold up, so if you found this fun, if you found this exciting, if you found this valuable, if you're not already, I know some of you here are already a part of my 4-week program that's happening, which is the Quantum Code. If you're not, I'm just going to quickly share with you what it's like. It's on 83% off, finally, for the next 48 hours. It's called the Quantum Code. We're going to experience this together for 4 weeks. We're going to have 8 live calls. And the purpose I created this was that, a lot of times in the moment, we feel the pull of this truth, but it takes more than sometimes it can take more than just that one moment when we've been conditioned for so long. That is why people go like, when I close my eyes, when I'm in the activation, I feel so good. But when I walk in the 3D, what happens? This is where we close that gap. And I am so, so, so excited for it. It's just at $97 right now. It is the greatest experience you will ever have, the greatest experience I've ever created, the deepest I will ever take any group of people. Over 50 of you are already inside, and I am so excited about taking you through this. Okay. So I'm gonna put a link to this in the chat if you want to be a part of it. It's gonna be $97 for just another 48 hours, and then it's gonna go up. It starts on 15th April, so you have time to, arrange everything. You can read through all of what it is. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. The recording, the transmission will be on YouTube. If you have questions, you can email me the questions. I will send you the recording of this in your email alongside the, you know, reality decoded, that link, and the YouTube link to watch it through YouTube if you want. Okay. I love you. Thank you so, so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for experiencing this with me. And I'm so grateful I got to, um, babes. Okay. How can I visualize better? I'm just going to answer this. I just did. I just did. Let me share it again. I'll send you guys in the email as well, the playlist, but here it is over here. Every person visualizes differently. I'll make a YouTube video about this. Okay. I'll make a video about it. Okay. I love you guys. I will see you next time. Bye.